and welcome to this edition of Chuck's Culture Channel. And this time around, I'm talking with the multi-talented Amy Jo Jackson, who is bringing her Bistro Award-winning cabaret show, The Brass Menagerie, to the Curtain Call Lounge at the fabulous Fox here in St. Louis, May 31st and June 1st, 2023. It's a prelude to the 8th Annual Tennessee Williams Festival, which takes place September 7th through 17th. Described as a campy romp through the women of Tennessee Williams, the Brass Menagerie answers the musical question, what would it be like to hear Blanche Dubois, Maggie the Cat, or the Wingfield ladies sing through their plays? Speaking of which, here's Amy Jo Jackson and music director Brian Nash to show us what happens when Maggie the Cat meets Grisabella from Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats.
Let's look in on our lovebirds now, shall we? Brick is in the bathroom having a shower, nursing a highball and the ankle he broke last night trying to jump hurdles on the high school athletic field, when Maggie rushes into the bedroom. Brick, I've got to change. Oh, my lovely lace dress. Those 5 no-neck monsters, I could kill the whole bunch. It's Big Daddy's birthday and they're making a mess. I got hit with the hot buttered biscuit at lunch. But I'm Maggie the cat, I'm Maggie the cat. Maggie the cat, I'm Maggie the cat. Yes, I'm Maggie, I'm Maggie the cat. Maggie the cat, I'm Maggie the cat. Yes, I'm Maggie, oh, hi, Brick. Baby, you gotta know that the doctor sent word. Big Daddy's dying, and it's gonna be quick. Cooper and May, you know they've overheard that there's not a will and you won't give me the dick. I'm a cat on a roof, a cat on a roof, but it's hot because the roof's made of tin and the tin's in the sun, so it's hot, but I'll stay on as long as I can. I'm a cat on a hot tin roof, meouch!
Okay, well, there you had a really brief glimpse at Amy Jo Jackson's show, The Brass Menagerie, specifically her part about Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, using songs from the musical Cats, which will give you some idea of the ingenuity employed in this show. Amy, thanks so much for joining me on Chuck's Culture Channel today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So, as I mentioned in the introduction, excuse me, this is going to be done May 31st and June 1st at the Curtain Call Lounge in the Fox, which is what's behind me. This is the view that you will see from the stage of the Champagne Bar. Tell folks a little bit about the show. I mean, we know it's it's Tennessee Williams plays intersecting with musical theater, and it's comedy, it's satire, but it's loving satire, basically, right?
Oh, deeply. Yeah. I think anyone who comes to see it that has even you don't really need to know anything about these plays to enjoy it, but I think anyone who does know these plays walks away feeling like it was done with love and a deep attention to detail, and so that people who have like a lot of experience with these plays walk away with a lot of Easter eggs, and people who don't like walk away feeling like they were brought along for the ride. But yeah, basically the idea for it came about. I was sitting on the couch with my spouse, and we're both actors, so we were talking about Ethel Merman. This is a thing that happens, and we were just joking about her. What if Ethel Merman played Amanda Wingfield in the Glass Menagerie? And my partner was like, oh yeah, you could call it the Brass Menagerie. And then we were both like, wait a minute. And so we then started just like riffing with jokes, and then I like started making a playlist, and then I kind of put it out of my mind, and then I pitched it to this residency program at a cabaret theater here in New York, and they were like, yeah, here's a very small grant and some rehearsal space, and go write it. And so then I did. I thought initially I was just gonna like have some monologues from Tennessee Williams and sing some songs, and that kind of like friction between those two would be fun. And then I quickly realized, like, no, if I want to do this right, I've got to like really rewrite a ton of lyrics, like a lot of parody lyrics. Again, also a loving, deep knowledge of musical theater. that's the part that I don't really like explain much in the show. And again, like my dad loves the show and he knows very little about musicals, and what he knows about Tennessee Williams, he knows from the show, from my show. But like it's done to be entertaining and goofy and silly. But yeah, the friction of, you know, having Maggie the cat singing Grisabella songs from Cats, you know, it's so stupid it works. And like that's really my ethos. It's like, I don't know, is it funny? Is it like really funny? Then like let's go like 100% in that direction. So that's where I kind of started with mashing up some Gypsy and Glass Menagerie as like that with that, and then started being like, okay, where can I pull for other things? And yeah, so now I have a goofy little romp through the Women of Williams.
Yes, a comedic romp. And before we started recording, I said that I watched the 6 minutes or so on YouTube of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, and my first response is, this is just hilarious. This is brilliantly conceived. And my first response to seeing this was, I have got to see this show because this is a riot. Because I like a lot of people who are probably watching us, I'm part of the core audience. I mean, I love musical theater and I know a fair amount of Tennessee Williams. I've done some Tennessee Williams. So this
you're in the center of that Venn diagram for whom it hits.
Right.
Every joke hits, you know? Yeah.
But as you said, I think even if you're not necessarily in the center of that Venn diagram, this is going to be really entertaining. And so this whole thing was your creation, right? All the words and the lyrics.
Yeah. So I collaborate very closely and have for many years with my music director, Brian Nash.
Right.
We've done a lot of cabarets together, but I basically just brought this to him and was like, now how do we make it musically possible? Because as you can see, if you watch the Cat on the Hot Tin Roof segment, but there's a lot of other bits like this. There's a lot of like sung material that segues directly into spoken material that segues into like new sung material, and there's underscoring underneath the whole thing. So Brian, who's a musical wizard, like did all of that. Where I was just like, how do we get from this to this elegantly? This is what I want to do. And he's like, great, we'll do it, you know, and he makes it happen. So he sings backup vocals in a couple places, and he has lines in one of the sections. So like he's a very integral part of it. But yeah, I mean, I basically sat over the course of the 6 months I had this residency, I would just sit and ponder and scribble and try to come up with like, you after you've written something, you can sometimes look back and be like, how did I come up with that? I truly don't remember, but it's just like sitting in a room and knowing way too many musical theater deep cuts. Too, just like having way too many scores in my head. Just start going through the Rolodex and then be like, what's going to be the funniest or the most impactful in this moment or in this moment. So
I know the feeling. A friend just gave me a t-shirt as a present that says 80% of my brain is song lyrics. So
oh yeah I'm the type of person I can be like sitting in because I see a lot of cabaret because I do it, so I'll be like sitting in an audience and I'll hear the first like chord and I'll be like, oh great, I'll be one of the like, oh, with the first chord, and then like usually then the other half of the audience that isn't the super nerds like myself, like the lyric will start to be like, oh, this song. And I'm like, way ahead of you. I've spent my entire youth. I don't know. I missed the 90s when other people my age were like into Nirvana. I was like, I'm rewatching West Side Story, please and thank you. Like I have my priorities. So
yes, I understand completely. I also want to circle back. You talked about working closely with your music director, and I think maybe a lot of people who go to see a cabaret show don't realize just how utterly important that relationship is.
Hugely. And Brian, I was having a conversation with a pianist friend in passing a while back, and I was like, oh yeah, well, I work with Brian Nash. I was like, oh, you're one of Brian's girls, because there's like a few of us that pretty much just like work fairly exclusively with him. He just makes it so easy. He's like the other half of my creative brain. So I've done cabaret shows with other like pianists at the helm, music directors. If I'm like out of town doing a regional show, I've sometimes worked with that music director, and like that can be great, but it's not the same as like a collaboration that really is like you share a mind in a way, and also like we find the same things funny, which is very helpful when you're building comedic moments. I don't have to explain like the way in which I want it done. He's like, oh, you mean like this? And we just do it. And it's really magical. When I first was singing through the score, the Brass Menagerie score for him, and he's like playing along with me, and he didn't have all of my rewritten lyrics in front of him, and I have a line in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof about hot buttered biscuits, and he had to walk away from the piano because he was laughing so hard. And I was like, this is very satisfying when you can make like your collaborator like that, like just cackle so hard that they have to leave the room. It feels very satisfying. But yeah, it's not just like someone playing piano for you. It's much deeper than that. And they're feeling at the moment with you. And especially with something like this, which like the audience laughs at different points depending on like what they're familiar with, what what they're finding funny. You're having to ride those laughs together, but you can't like, I'm not like looking at them like, let's stretch it out. You just feel it out together. So it's really important. So I would not do this show without Brian. This is one of those that I would not have someone else play for me, because it does. I'm like, oh, that seems like a lot of stress that I don't need in my life.
Yeah, I know, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's great. Yeah, so Brian will be here with you in St.
Yes.
Louis when you do this.
Oh yeah.
Okay, great. So how many Williams plays are we covering in this? Because I've never seen your show. I'm going to see it for the first time myself when it comes to St. Louis.
I think it's 9 Williams characters.
Okay.
But I play all 3 of the Wingfield family in Glass Menagerie. So
okay.
It's Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, Suddenly Last Summer, Sweet Bird of Youth, Rose Tattoo, Summer and Smoke, Streetcar Named Desire, and Glass Menagerie. So those are, and then there's a lot, I talk about the family, try to give kind of a light, playful context for like who these characters are based on, and like how so much of what he was writing about was his relationship to his own like feminine side, his relationship to his sister, who obviously, like, if you know much about Williams, she inspired a lot of his characters, Laura in the Glass Menagerie, Blanche in Streetcar Named Desire, and his mother as well, and like what combination of the 3 led to all these iconic characters. And I promise it's not as dry as I just made it sound. There's a lot more jokes, lots of jokes, but that sort of like takes you through. So also people walk away being like, wow, I laughed so hard and I learned something. It's like, I'm the child of many generations of educators. I can't turn it off, but I try to have it be really silly as we go about it.
So I guess we should point out that you have a lot of other arrows in your sling aside from just this show. I mean, I was commenting earlier, I was looking at your brief bio on your website, in which you describe yourself as a performer, playwright, composer, lyricist, and glitter alien based in New York City.
Yeah, my nightlife persona, it's really interesting when people have met me, depending on what kind of area of my life they've met me, because I'm also a dialect coach. Like that is like my day job. So like if people meet me in my very serious like dialect coach capacity, or if they meet me when we're doing a Shakespeare play together, or if they've seen me in nightlife, I'm also very tall. So people are intimidated to differing degrees based on like if they met me as like a warm teacher figure, or if they met me with like tons of eyeliner and like these giant epaulets with spikes on them kind of thing, like, and I belt really high. So like if I'm singing like Freddie Mercury at them, or if like we met talking about sound changes for an old coward play, so that's the glitter aliens really like encompassing a lot of my like stage monster, stage persona kind of thing, which is a bit different in this because we're going for a more mid-century vibe. I wear a lovely wig. You'll see the wig, St. Louis, you'll love the wig. And so it's fun to do very different styles of cabaret as well, because it enables me to, I have a lot of range that does not always get used when you're playing whatever sidekick character in whatever musical. So it's very satisfying to get to exercise all these different parts of what I can do, and that I enjoy doing, by crafting stuff for myself. So yeah, no one has hired me to be in a Williams play, so I had to hire myself. But it's worked out great so far. I've gotten to play a lot of roles. I'm never going to get to play Laura, but I love playing Laura in my version.
Sometimes that's what you have to do.
Absolutely.
Well, anybody who wants to know what else you're up to can just check out the video description field down here, and they will see the many things you're doing, Amy. So I think everybody's going to be looking forward here in St. Louis to seeing you basically kick off the Tennessee Williams Festival, May 31st and June 1st at the Fox Curtain Call Lounge. And Again, thanks for taking a few minutes to tell us about it. Is there anything more you really want to punch before we terminate the interview?
Mm, I don't know. I'm really excited to come to St. Louis. I've never been, and
Mm,
I'm very excited. I know you're steeped in Tennessee Williams lore over there, even if it's not necessarily like, again, you don't need to be, I'm the scholar in my play. You don't need to be the scholar. I perform that part, but like, I'm very excited to engage with these audiences that like, in many ways, like a hometown guy, I'm
yeah.
very excited to bring this. It feels very special to bring this piece to St. Louis in particular, also because there's like a good chunk of it is from the Glass Menagerie. So like it feels really right. And I'm just really excited to, engage with the audiences and to get to bring this to its hometown in a way.
Okay, great. Amy Jo Jackson, thanks so very much.
Thank
And
you.
everybody out there, listen, tell your friends about Chuck's Culture Channel, share us on the socials and anti-socials, and get the word out. Let people know that I'm here talking to people like Amy Jo Jackson on a regular basis here on YouTube. And I will see you next time. Bye.